The country is nearing 100 days in a row of no load shedding. But with the winter days growing colder and municipal grid infrastructure under strain, can the lights stay on through winter? Newzroom Afrika's Andersen filed this report.
The lights have been on for almost 100 days. But while Eskom hasn't implemented any load shedding for over 3 months now, various municipalities have been forced to implement load reductions. And to the consumer, that's still several hours of rolling power cuts. The City of Johannesburg and its City Power entity have seen the worst of load reduction. Aged electrical infrastructure in the metro has fallen well behind on maintenance, and on top of that, the number of illegal connections to the grid is sizable. All of that means that even though Eskom has enough power, the electrical grid in the City of Johannesburg can't always cope, leading to City Power having to carry out the load reductions in some areas. But according to energy expert and former City Power and Eskom manager Vali Pariachi, there are growing concerns that load reduction will soon be seen in many municipalities across the country.
The bad news is that we're seeing that in City Power now, and we're also seeing that in Tshwane. Now, those are two big metros. Now, I can safely say that what you're seeing in City Power and Tshwane, their big load centers, is symptomatic of the rest of the country. So the rest of the country is sitting with the same situation as City Power and Tshwane, etc. So you're going to see this thing rolling out, if I can put it in that way, in terms of localized outages going forward, unless we do something urgently and quickly.
But while questions remain over municipal infrastructure in the metros, for most of the country, the 3 months of no load shedding has still brought with it massive relief. And while there was skepticism from many South Africans of the lack of load shedding pre-elections, Pariachi does believe the higher stages of load shedding are behind us.
We are in the right trajectory, in the right direction. And let me qualify that. I don't believe we'll go back to the, let's call it the eye level and the robust load shedding that we had in the past. I think we are over that. And but as the ministry had said, Eskom had also admitted, we are still not out of the woods. Okay, so there are some risk factors that, if they're not mitigated reasonably well, we could get back to load shedding, but not at the high levels.
Pariachi believes that while the current Eskom leadership has done well, the fact that Eskom currently is not able to meet the global norm reserve margin of 10 to 15% above maximum electricity demand remains a key risk. But for South Africans to have uninterrupted power going forward, getting the municipal grids around the country up to speed is going to be key. That's regardless of how well Eskom is doing. And on top of that, the act of upgrading Eskom's national transmission grid is needed in order to connect more generating capacity to the national grid. The problem is, both of those needs don't come cheap.
We must not forget that Eskom load shedding, since 2008 till now, and it was rampant in the last 2 or 3 years, has severely exacerbated the condition of those municipal grids. Okay? Now, we've done some internal interrogation, and very roughly you can double that to the previous 80. So now we're sitting with a total rough estimation backlog in maintenance refurbishment only, excluding capex and new infrastructure, of 160 billion rand. 16, some people say that's a very low figure, it's a very conservative figure, but be that as it may, it's still quite high. So we've got 160 billion here in municipal grid. We've got 500 billion that the government has to rake out in Eskom for the national transmission grid.
So while it's clear that some key progress has in fact been made at Eskom, there's still a long and oh so expensive way to go to ensure the country has enough power and that municipalities have the capacity to deal with it. For Newzroom Afrika on Channel 405, I'm Andersen in Johannesburg.